Hello, this is Myra Tainsley, and I am recording this on December the 22nd, 2019, and I am the proud single parent of a young man with autism. His name is Marquis. He's 26 years old. He is high functioning, and he is intelligent and wonderful, and we are African American. Myself, I am a middle-aged African American mother. I've been an RN for almost 35 years. I'm about ready to graduate with an advanced degree in nursing in a few months. And I'm an advocate for my son. I'm also a Christian. And what's been going on with my son is that he is now, and for several years, he has been in a very hateful, racist, wicked, corrupt, evil, greedy system. I'm talking about the government system, where he has suffered ongoing abuse, neglect, and exploitation. And for that main reason of me being a whistleblowing, loving mother that speaks out, I'm not afraid to advocate for my son and speak out for him. They have hidden him and have kept him isolated from me. The last time that I seen my son was in 2015, and March the 15th, 2015 was the last time that they allow him to see me. And the last time I laid eyeballs on him was July the 8th, 2015, through my own efforts, because I knew my son was leaving. It told me he would be leaving to go to counseling that was initiated by the U.S. Department of Education after I filed a complaint against the school district. So I am a whistleblowing mother, and I knew he would be leaving that day. And so I waited outside, and I was able to see him. And since that last time, July the 8th, 2015, remember, it was through my own efforts, I have not seen my son. Now, there's a racist, wicked, evil, lying, corrupt attorney by the name of Aaron L. Sanford, the Nye Law Group, that has been his limited guardian. They appointed her to be, the corrupt probate court appointed her to be my son's limited guardian back in January of 2013. And she has not allowed my son to have any contact with me. It's been over a year since he was allowed to call me. If he doesn't call me, it's not because he doesn't want to. It's because he hasn't been allowed to. And again, like I said, he hasn't been able to spend time with his own mother, a loving, professional, whistleblowing black mother. And this has been going on, like I said, since 2015. So when I say he has not been allowed to have any contact or spend any time with me, that includes holidays, that includes birthdays. And the main reason why Sanford, which is a racist, she's just a wicked, racist, white witch. That's what she is. I know she's afraid for me to see what kind of condition he's in, because she doesn't care anything about him, because that's not her child. She has no emotional attachment to him. And she's got other wards, and she makes money off of these wars, because she gets their SSI money while they live. Like, my son's living in poverty and been living around people that's been abusing him and neglecting him, home health or home DD staff, home staff for the developmentally disabled, and I got all this evidence. That's why I can say what I want to say about her, anybody in that system. I got pictures of these people. I got the documents. I can make these tapes. I can name them, and nobody's going to say nothing to me, because it's not slander when it's true. Nobody can say, oh, cease and desist, you're, defaming us, we'll sue you for defamation. Nobody can say that to me, because I got evidence to back it up. So if I say it, you better believe there's evidence that goes along with it. So she's afraid for me to see what kind of condition he is in, because I am a Christian. I love all kind of people, but I hate racism. And there's racism all in this thing. Because white people, racist, sick white people in this country has never, never, ever respected the black family or black people's rights as human. As humans, you know, the dignity that all humans have the right to have. They have never respected black people dignity as humans. In fact, they always try to dehumanize black people. And I'm going like, well, you know, what gives? Because I love Marquis, that's his name if I didn't mention it. I love my son just as much as they love the kids or the brats they got. But as a black mother, I'm not supposed to have any rights. So, you know, you got racist white people that are very sick in the head. And you can't really change that with laws because the heart needs to be changed. The Bible says, even Jesus said, all that stuff comes from the human heart. So that's the reason why you never had the affirmative action, civil rights. You know, you can have those laws out there, but they're not going to, you know, completely eradicate racism. Because you have to change your heart. That's a sick, sick heart. And the mind. Because there's a lot of psychological damage that has trickled down from racism and slavery, especially slavery, and some physical damage as well. And that's the reason why, because the white people that are racist, they hate black people so much, you know, they want you to be a nigger, you don't have any worth as a human, no dignity as a human, not a right to life, or, I mean, they'll take your rights away from you. So when you got these white people that hate black people the way they do, they're going to treat you like the way they feel about you. They don't think you're worth anything, you know, so they're going to treat you like you're not worth anything. And that's why you see, you know, the outcomes of racism to the victim race. Because white people love to pass the ball. They love to try to make this thing complicated. Racism is not complicated if you know the meaning of it. And there's a lot of people that don't know what racism means. They don't know the definition of it. Versus racist, prejudice, bias, you know, stereotypes. All of them have different meanings. But racism is just the victim race is going to be treated negatively and differently than the race that's empowered. That's why racism in America is not a black race thing. It's not a black phenomenon because black people systemically, remember systemically, ism means systemic, doesn't hold the power systemically to impose their race upon white people. And you got to have that hate anyway. And I see black people as a very tolerable race. I mean, they were the slaves. They weren't the slave owners. They wasn't going around lynching, you know, hundreds of white people over the years. So they don't show that savagery or that racial violence and racial hatred that a heart has to have to want to go and lynch, you know, somebody of another race. I mean, black people have been killed for just being in town and having black skin. Or not moving out of the neighborhood fast enough. And then you would get hundreds of white people from all around the surrounding neighborhoods and towns that would come and look at these lynchings, you know, with, you know, bloodthirsty, you know, like, you know, I mean, the savagery, you know, just wanting to see, you know, somebody mutilated and tortured just because they were black. That's sick. That's racial violence. That's racial hatred. So, and that happened. But it takes a very, very sick person to want to see something like that, you know. And they would bring their kids and their grandpas and their grandmas and you know, like I said, there'd be hundreds of them, you know, just like they were going to a circus and stuff, just to see this black person. 90% of the time, 95% of the time, a black male, black man, just to see a black teenager, just to see them mutilated and tortured and burned, and it's just sick. It's just sick. And I said, so that stuff don't work with me, you know, because they always try to say black people are so violent. I said, oh, no, because I know your history. Especially when it comes to racial violence and racial crimes and racial hatred. Oh, no. Let's not go there. But the problem with a lot of white people in this country is, you know, they're in denial about it. Because white people either practice it or they benefit from the system of racism, which is a white phenomenon. And I explained why. I gave you the definition and the meaning. And so they benefit or either practice it. But in the meantime, they're in denial. And a person that's in denial has a big problem, because when you're in denial, you are not able to acknowledge the truth. A person in denial is not denying lies. They're denying the truth. Now, all white people in America are not in denial. That's why you got some of them out there, marching with, in civil rights throughout the history of America. There's been whites that have participated and supported civil rights movements and different marches that dealt with, racial inequality and racial violence and brutality and stuff. Because they can acknowledge there's racism in this country. And it's been in this country since 1776. That's why you got them out there, like I said, marching in the civil rights movement, marching with Black Lives Matter, which is not a racist organization. Just like civil rights, ignorant white people, why you got civil? Well, if you treat black people like they're human and give them their dignity as, that's worth, every human being has a right to, then you wouldn't have to have civil rights, because it was just a response to the way you were treating black people, the racial violence that you were imposing on black people just for being black. That's why they had to come up with the civil rights, I mean, duh, so, affirmative action, well, they got to meet these quotas because, all the time, was just white people. Just like this beauty thing, the beauty pageants. And, for the first time, they said, well, all the major 5 beauty pageants were won by, black women. And there's ignorant, racist white people. Well, why? Why is that news? Well, it's news because this is the first time it ever happened. There was a time when black women couldn't even enter beauty pageants, so-called beauty pageants. So it is a big deal. And why are you getting mad? And then some of them will go ahead and get real angry and say, oh, well, it's because they're black, It's because they're black. Well, you're going to get mad because black women have been chosen, in all of these 5 pageants. And by the way, the other one, Miss America, they just had their pageants. So a white girl won that, a white woman won that. But anyway, but you're going to get mad and say it's only because of racial whatever that these black women won. But before that, it was white women winning all the time. You get this much all the time as white people. And then when black people get their due or get something that's finally should have been theirs a long time ago and it's been overdue, then you want to raise sand about it. So that's how sick this thing is. Racist people are very sick in the head, and they don't even understand it, or really know the dynamics. But it comes from a sick heart. And then there's psychological damages to both blacks and whites as far as slavery is concerned. So when I say, personally in me and my son's case, now he's a black male. He don't mean nothing to them. He black, he's disabled, he's got autism, nothing. He just, some name and number that the state of Ohio will get money for, because they got him some old rundown housing in a terrible crime-ridden neighborhood, just in a terrible neighborhood. Before that, he was in a state of Ohio developmentally disabled facility. And it's actually an ICF MRI facility, intermediate care facility for the mentally retarded. And my son should have never been committed there because, for one thing, he's not mentally retarded. He's high-functioning autistic. And to actually commit somebody to that facility, per their own laws, their own statute, you had to be MR, low-level, mentally retarded. And my son is neither one. He's not low-level, and he's not mentally retarded. And so, before that, and he was abused and neglected. And so, I have 4 pages on Facebook. And Um, one of the pages is audio tapes of my son, because my son is high functioning, so he's got a vocabulary. I mean, he's autistic. He's got some deficits and stuff, but he's able to express himself and express his feelings. I said, I'm going to let people hear from Marquis's own mouth in his own words how he feels, how he's being treated, how, he misses his mother, the pain he's going through, the emotional pain, the abuse, the assault, the physical pain. I said they can hear from his own mouth how he feels. And you can imagine, because my son has been treated like worse than an inmate. I said even these inmates get phone calls and visits from their family and stuff. And, whoever, they're able to have come visit them. And I said he doesn't even, like I said, he's just been treated worse than an animal. And you could just imagine, as a parent, as a mother, it doesn't matter whether you're a mother or father, how would you feel to come in there and see your son? No parent that love their child would want to see their child the way I've seen my son. I'll just say it like that. Or hear the things that he has told me, how he's been assaulted and abused, how noisy it is, how he's being terrorized and traumatized, and how people have hit him and staff have mistreated him and allowing other residents to pick on him and hit him and stuff. You don't want to come, and then to come in there, like I said, I'm a nurse, and that's another reason why, because I got the evidence to back it up. You can go to Facebook pages and see some of the evidence that I have, that I'm not just full of hot air. It ain't just my imagination. Pictures, recordings, documents. Yeah, I got it all. That's why ain't none of that white trash, racist scum from the judges all the way down going to say nothing to Myra Tanksley. Not going to say a thing. Not going to say a thing because I got too much evidence. And they really know that don't put it out there. But, but for me to have to come in there and see my son the way I've seen him, it just tear my heart up. But I said, I vowed that I'm going to put this evidence out here. But it'll take Jesus to bring Marquis back home because I'm a Christian. And I know Jesus is with my son because he ain't going through what he's going through because he deserves it. I said, look at Jesus. He was treated worse than a criminal. I mean, he was beaten more and torture more and everything else. And here he was without sin. But he went to the whipping post and he went to the cross for our salvation and our healing. And he got the job done. 3 days later, we know he came out of the tomb. But he wasn't a criminal, but he was executed like one. So just because somebody treats you wrong don't mean you deserve it. My son ain't going through what he's going through because God thinks he needs to be punished. Look at all the things that Joseph went through. I'm talking about not Joseph, the husband of Mary, but I'm talking about Joseph back in Genesis. How his brothers sold him and were jealous of him. He didn't do nothing wrong. But just tell him about his dream, how the woman lied on him and said that he tried to rape her. And he was in prison for 13 years. So just because somebody mistreats you don't mean diddly squat. It doesn't mean that you deserve it. Because, like I said, my son is not going through what he's going through because he deserves it. The same way they took my guardianship. I had guardianship. They took it away. Now, we got to get this away from this black mother because, black people, we supposed to just hang our head down, keep our mouth shut while white people take our rights away, our lives, our dignity as humans, dehumanize us. They love to dehumanize black people. Just taking their humanity away from another human being. And so we supposed to keep our mouth shut. Now, if I've been a white mother, and because white people can raise sand, they can raise hell and have spasms and do all sorts of things. But they can't take that from black people. We supposed to keep our mouth shut. Or we're an uppity nigger, So they resented me for that. I wasn't supposed to advocate for my son. I said, well, I'm sorry. I said, for one thing, I'm a Christian, and I know God will take care of this situation in his own way, in his own time. But I'm not going to just hang my head and keep my mouth shut and let y'all abuse and neglect and exploit my son. I'm just not that type of mother. And I'm not intimidated by sick, wicked, racist, trash, white people. I'm just not intimidated by that. And what I mean by that, I don't respect them, and I'm not afraid of their methods. Because I've seen God do all kind of miracles in this situation. And he told me, he said, no, I'm going to bring your son back home. He said, just pray for him. He said, you got on Facebook. He said, but when I bust this thing wide open, I'm going to bust it open. I'll drag them people through the mud. I said, well, excuse me, Lord. I know you're still working on me, but I hope you let me see it. Because he took a Jewish lawyer off this planet. I didn't see the man when he fell out at home, but the Lord let me know he was dead and gone by making me get a newspaper the day his name was in the obituaries. And I never get a newspaper. I don't subscribe to it. And I don't read it. I just don't read a newspaper. But that day, the Lord made me go into, it was Walmart, and walk right up to that newspaper. There was a guy selling the newspaper, and I walked right past it. Something spun me around and made me turn right back around, go to that table, and pick that newspaper up. Went to the obituaries, and there was that Jewish lawyer's name at the top of the list. And the Lord said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. That's what the Lord said to me. But when the man was talking to me, I knew God was going to punish him because he was bragging about being corrupt and abusive to people in court. He thought he was a phenomenon because God hates pride or arrogance. And I said, it's bad enough to be corrupt, but to think you're unstoppable and all powerful. He said he was a phenomenon and, and to brag about being corrupt. And I said, because a lot of these people don't know when you do things to other people and you're mistreating them and doing wrong to them, it offends God. Because I knew God was going to punish him by the way he was talking. And Jesus made that clear. What you done to the least of the brethren you did to me. That's going to send a whole lot of people straight to hell because it offends Jesus. And that's the second greatest commandment. The first is to love God with all your heart, soul, spirit, and mind. The second is to love your neighbor as yourself. That's not loving your neighbor as yourself. You cannot hate a whole race of people and think you're going to go to heaven. It offends God. And Jesus said that. He's going to say that to people. Either way it goes. Well, when did we didn't feed you or give you this or that? Jesus said, when you didn't do it to them, you didn't do it to me. Out of my sight. And people will go to hell for that. And then the Bible says, in 1 John, it says, as far as you can't say that you love God who you have not seen and hate your brother who you have seen. So all these hating white people that, want to hate minorities and non-whites and especially black people, especially in this country and stuff, you're headed straight to hell. You can't hate. I don't care if you go to church 7 days a week. You cannot hate because it offends God. And as far as Jesus is concerned, he said you're doing it to him. So what I've been doing, like I said, when it comes to racism, me being a black mother, like I said, they don't respect me, my motherhood rights, my dignity as a mother, my rights as a mother. But then they will always say that escalate my son. I said, well, and they were saying like when Marquis, him being autistic, if he has meltdowns, that I was the cause of it. So I'm going like, so when he's having meltdowns and y'all restraining him and I'm not there, is that my ghost? So who's that's making him have meltdowns when Mother Bear's not there? And then I said, well, when these white kids or any age group, where they are having, and they're autistic, so when they are having meltdowns or verbal or physical aggression, and they're at home with their white parents, who escalates them? So you can see the disparity of how the black mother is blamed for her son having meltdowns, and the white mothers and fathers isn't. Real simple. And it's been that way since 1776, how they have treated black people differently. They're going to treat black people differently, and they still do it. It's everywhere. It's in employment, it's in sports, it's in music, it's in housing, it's in education, it's in law enforcement, it's in the legal system. Black people are going to be treated differently in this country. I say, even their white scholars say that, because like I said, I'm back in school and stuff, and I just finished a diversity class. I said, I wish I could have 1 billion of them, just throw them out to people and stuff. I said, and it's written by white people that talk about the racism, how prevalent it is in American society, in this country, and how it's a social determinant, and how it affects people's well-being. It even affects their health. They say that's the reason why black people have so much hypertension, high blood pressure and stuff, because of the stress of living in a racist society, and the roadblocks, and how their health care is not as their access to good health care and quality health care is affected by their skin color. So I say, even your own white people even write this stuff, and yet they want to deny it. And I really liked that last book, diversity book, that I read. And I said, I wish I could have 1 billion of them, and just throw them and just hand it right out to read and learn from it. You read it and learn it, But all they're going to do is deny it. So anyway, like I said, I got 4 Facebook pages that are just full of evidence. Not all the evidence that I have, but enough to prove that I'm not full of hot air, and neither is my son. And I figure and I have a YouTube channel that I always upload these tapes or audio videos. They never have video on them. It's just audio. But I always upload them to my YouTube channel. Then I upload them from there to the Facebook. And so the 4 Facebook pages are the abuse and neglect of autistic Marquis Tanksley by the government, Justice for Autistic Marquis Tanksley, Let Marquis Go, Free Him from His Suffering, Abuse, and Neglect, and then the audio tapes of, and I wanted to put Autistic Marquis Tanksley, but it was too long, so the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley, His Suffering, Abuse, and Neglect. So the audio tape page is where I'm putting these recordings, and they're of Marquis. And then I decided to also put recordings of me advocating for Marquis, me calling, trying to see my son, trying to find out how he's doing, trying to, get them to let me talk to him and stuff. But like I said, the number one reason is because they don't, especially Sanford, because she's a limited guardian. So she is the main one that's keeping him. Now, she's part of the system. They all go along, get along, scratch each other's back, work in concert with each other. But she's the main one that won't allow Marquis to talk to me or see me, because she knows that he's able to tell me things. They know it because he's done it in the past. And that protects them, because if Marquis is telling me things, they know I'm going to keep on exposing it, like I've been doing for a few years now. That's the number one reason. Then they don't like me telling Marquis and giving him hope. I said, well, I'm a Christian. I ain't going to give up on my son. I ain't going to give up on God. I tell him that he's going to come back home and that Jesus loves him, because it's true, and because I believe it 1,000,000,000%. Because these people got the devil in them. They're just racist, white, evil trash. Sanford, the judges, Mike DeWine, he's the governor now. You know how they move around that case, because all these people have been in office while all this stuff has been happening. And I said, I could put this stuff out here, but nobody could really clap back on me, because they wouldn't really want this to get in the media. But God told me, he said, yeah, but I'm going to be in control of all of that. He said, because, I do things at my own appointed time and my own way. And I had told Marquis that. I had to tell myself that God does his thing, or he does things at his own appointed time. Throughout the Bible, at the appointed time, Jesus will be born at this appointed time. At this appointed time, he'll go to the cross. At the appointed time, this will happen. So just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean Marquis is not coming back home. And God has his own way of when he does things. All we have to do is just trust him and believe him. We can't rush God. We don't need to. He's perfect in everything, in his timing and how he does things. He knows how to do everything. And I know my son's been called. And what he's been through, he can help other people. Because here he is, disabled, developmentally disabled, and he can't even see his own mother that he loves. And like I said, they don't have no respect for us. I said, that just shows the wickedness and the sickness of racist white people. I said, because they don't even think of us as human beings. It's like, I can't possibly miss my son like they would if they were not able to see their children. But black people was like, we're animals. They always try to dehumanize black people. And I said, this country is going to go down the tubes. I said, because God ain't happy with America. I said, look at Trump, how he's being humiliated and stuff. Because it's been so hypocritical and wicked. In God we trust and all this kind of stuff. And one of the sickest, countries in the history of the world. And it's going to go down. Because I don't think the United States is even relevant in, the upcoming biblical wars and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't make no difference. Because they're going to have a nasty called the Antichrist that's going to control the whole world anyway. And the United States basically been neutralized. It's been neutralized according, as far as Russia and China is concerned. It ain't like, well, we can just go ahead and bomb you and you can't get us back. They got to think twice before they attack one of those other so-called superpowers. So those are the 4 pages. And I have tapes of my son all the way up to the last time I talked to him. Last time I talked to him, or he was allowed to call me, was December the 16th, 2018. So it's been over a month. And I am going to start using these tapes from they're more like the voice recorders, I guess, and a computer. Because before that, I was using like the mini cassettes, and those recordings are very, very, they're grainy, they pop, they're not that clear. So this one I did the last time that I made a recording, because I'm not able to do them as often as I like, because I've been in school, and between working full time and going to school, it's been time consuming. But I decided to look up this tape or this recording, from the voice recorder, computer sort of thing, and it's a lot clearer. I said, I'm going to go ahead and make another audio video with that content. It's from January 2013. So actually, it was January the 16th, 2013. Marquis was at the Columbus Developmental Center, the state of Ohio ICF MR facility here in Columbus, Ohio. I went to visit him, and I was told that I couldn't visit him because my son had rent across the street. Now, the sick racist trash that I was talking to was the program director named Rob Capaldi. He is now the superintendent over there, because you know how they move around and stuff. And I said, you mean to tell me, and you'll hear it real clear too. That's why I'm putting it out here again. And I said, you mean to tell me he ran across the street? Yeah. And he said, because we got to have fire drills. Well, the reason why my son was able to elope out of this building and ran across the street was because he was by himself. He didn't have no supervision. They had him in a building all by himself with no staff to supervise him. And so when the fire drill rung, it triggered my son. It traumatized him, terrorized him, the noise, and he ran across the street and ran up on a house and broke out the window. So when I said that to him, he said, well, he knew you were coming over here with Long John Silver's. So you see how he lied. First, it was he ran across the street because of the fire drill, but then he knew you were coming over here, so he wasn't going to, it didn't really make any difference. And my son has never ran away from coming to visit with me because he adores me. And I got that all on tape. I got all kind of things that Marquis is talking about on tape. How they abuse him. One time he said the staff was trying to make him ejaculate. Where did he get that word from? I never told him about ejaculation. They were putting music in his ear trying to make him ejaculate. And that's on tape too. But, and I got to thinking, I said, well, how in the world did Mark, so he had to be by himself, because if staff would have been with my son, they would have stopped him from running all across this campus, because it's a state facility, so you know they've got some grounds, and run across the street. And then my son also told me later on when I asked him about it, because he cut his arm, because he ran up on a house. Thank God he didn't get hit or he didn't get shot, but he had told me he was naked. And he said he was scared when he heard a fire drill, and he just bolted, an autistic individual, and God was with him, because like I said, he could have got hit because it was a busy street. He could have got shot at. And I got pictures of the house, because I drove down the street, and after this racist sick man, Capaldi, told me that, because he wouldn't let me see Marquis. I said, well, I want to see my son, because I'm sure he wants to see his mother. I have a right to, as a mother, my dignity as a mother, I want to comfort my son. I want to love on my son and support my son. I said, he's been scared, and they wouldn't let me see him. But they will always do that whenever they didn't want Marquis to tell me something, or if they didn't want me to see any injuries or anything like that, then they would not let me see him. They're still doing that. That's what Sanford's doing. That's the number one reason, because they don't want Marquis to tell me things. They're afraid for him to even talk to me. And they definitely don't want me to see him. That's the primary reason. Some of it is retaliation. I said, because she never talks to me. I'll call her every now and then, let her know I'm still in this thing. I said, I'm not walking away from my son. I said, you sick, racist white people y'all just the scum of the earth. I said, because what, I supposed to walk away? I'm not going to forget that I gave birth to my son. I'm not going to walk away from my son. I ain't going to give up on him. I ain't going to give up on God. So I always have to leave a message, because she ain't going to get no phone with me. But she's just a wicked, racist, white, ugly witch. That's what she is. She looks like a witch. And like I was telling my brother, I said, but I got her lying on me. I said, because Marquis is not the only victim in this. I'm a victim in this as a mother. And I said, of all the professions, to be ethical, you'd think a lawyer, I was a lying lawyer. And I got that. I could prove that she lied on me. I ain't nothing to play with when it comes, because I believe in having evidence. I just don't start running off at the mouth. But anyway, so I decided, I said, I'll go ahead and put this tape on here. And I said, well, because usually if they bring him over, they bring him over. He doesn't come over. When he would have to come out and visit me, because they didn't want me to see the living area, because I reported it the last, one time, and just keeping things hidden away from a whistleblowing, loving mother. And I said, well, obviously Marquis must have been by himself because he would have never reached that house and run across the street. But he bolted out because they did a fire drill, and that's what happened. And he actually told them about it because one, and then I'm going to play this because I'm about ready to run out of time. One day, this is how the Lord works. He had me just go right down by that house one day. And when I drove past it, because the house was empty, when Marquis ran up on the porch and knocked the window out because he was so scared. So when I drove past it, there was a man boarding up the windows. And I had my tape recorder. The Lord said, get out and talk to him. And this man has since died because a couple of times he was a patient at the hospital, one of the hospitals I used to work at. So I got out and introduced myself, told him, and he said, yeah. He said, yeah. He said, so that was your son. He said, well, I had to pay $25 to the state of Ohio because they got to pay for it. But he said, I got all these papers I got to fill out. It's like an application to get reimbursed. I said, well, I said, yeah. I said, my son is autistic. He said, well, they should have been watching him. He said, because the man from over there at Columbus Developmental Center, he said, he told me that your son was by himself and that he got out on his own with no staff around, and that your son even told them that he had did that. And tears welled up in my eyes, and that your son was by himself and that he ran out because he was scared and nobody was there, with him. And he even pointed out this house to him. And that sounds like Marquis, but he bolted out because he's autistic and he got triggered, because a lot of autistics don't like a lot of noise. And it probably traumatized and terrorized Marquis something terrible. But he told him that he's sorry he did it and showed him the house. And he said, no. He said, the guy from CDC told me this, that they didn't even know he was gone. Didn't even know he was gone. And, and he said, it's just terrible. It's just terrible that, he had to go through that. So, but Rob Capaldi was trying to say, oh, well, he knew you were coming over here with Long John Silvers. And that he didn't want to come over here. No, he bolted out of that building because they were doing a fire drill, and he didn't have no staff supervising him. He was in a building all by himself. He was in a building all by himself. He wasn't over there with the other residents. And sometimes, and then another time, I know they'll do fire drills where they would try to get my son all agitated and in sensory overload right before he's supposed to come visit me. But this time he was by himself because they would have stopped him from running across the street and hitting the window. And they would have probably tackled him like a football team. But my son's been through pure hell. And I just had to remember that God's got this thing. I said, because I just don't believe that that's Marquis's destiny, that he'll never be able to see his mother again. Or I'll never be able to see my son again. That I'll leave this earth without ever seeing my son again. I just don't believe that's what God wants for us. And if it is, I'm waiting for him to tell me that. But I know, and me too, because I got a testimony too. But I know my son's going to touch the world because of what he's been through. But he ain't going through what he's going through because of anything that he done. God ain't trying to punish him. But God will take things like that. He'll take and use people that other people count out. He'll take a shepherd boy named David and help him defeat a giant. And see, that's a army of corrupt, wicked, racist, sick, evil, greedy people in a system that stack all up against you, and it'll take God to defeat that. And he'll use a Marquis, he'll use a Myra to do that, and other people as well. And I'm missing my son. I said, what do they think? That's why I said, just because I'm black, I can't be a mother. I don't have motherly feelings. I'm still buying gifts for my son. Jesus must gifts and birthday and graduation gifts and Easter Sunday, Resurrection Day gifts and Valentine's Day gifts. I said, there's a closet full of gifts in there for my son. Electronics and just everything. I said, what, I supposed to walk away and just forget about my son? But that's the way they think of black people. That's how sick these people are. And I love people, but I hate racist people. I hate racism. I hate racists. I can't stand that. I'm a nurse. I take care of all my patients. I'm a good nurse to every one of them. White, black, male, female, young and old. And I do it well. But that's the Christianity in me. I give white people money that's homeless on the street. Because most of them are white. 95% of them are white males and stuff. And I tell them it's because of Jesus. I don't see a white person. I see a homeless person that needs help. But when you mistreat children or somebody that can't advocate for themselves or, like a disabled person like my son, you're the lowest of the low. And these people want me to respect them? I said, I can't respect, scum. I said, these people, I can respect a criminal out in the street more than I can respect these legalized criminals. Because they do this stuff and do that corruption Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Bribing people. And when the Bible talks about injustice, that's who he's talking about. I had to tell my brother that. I said, I done read the Bible all the way through multiple times. I said, and God talks about injustice. He hates injustice. And he said he'll deal with it. But when he talks about injustice, he's talking about that scum that works in the court system. Lawyers and judges and magistrates and court investigators and case workers and social workers and clerks. Court clerks or whatever. That's who he's talking about. And he's pretty darn angry about it. Because God is a just God. He said, I'll take this thing and they'll know that you and Marquis got a God that's on y'all side in this thing. Because you ain't done nothing wrong. And Marquis sure enough ain't done nothing wrong to none of them people. He said, but I take things like this and show my power in it. And when it's all over, the whole world will know that I'm in charge of everything. But God will deal with injustice. I said, but that's what he's talking about. He ain't talking about the average Joe in the street. So anyway, let me go ahead and play this. And, I'm missing my son. Here it is, December the 22nd, 2019. I haven't seen him in over 4 years. I wish I could spend Christmas with him. Yeah, I bought Christmas gifts. I bought some more Christmas gifts for him. I said, because I still got a son. His pictures are still up in the house and everything else, But they don't care nothing about our feelings or our rights or our lives because we're black. Because they hate us so much. I said, but everyone I'm going to head bust hell wide open. I said, that's a big no-no to God. And then not believing in Jesus. That'll send you straight to hell too. Jesus said, you don't believe in me. You got to believe in me to be reconciled to the Father and have your sins forgiven. If you don't accept me and believe in me, then, that and hating other people, that'll bust, you're going to bust hell wide open. So until, the Lord brings Marquis back home, and I'll probably still keep those pages out there, even after Marquis come back home. But I'm going to keep doing these audio tapes because they know I can't get any more pictures or any recent pictures or documents and stuff. Because that protects them. Well, we won't let him talk to her, see her. She can't get any more pictures. But I got enough stuff. And that ain't all the evidence that I have. But just go to the pages and start at the beginning. That's what I always tell people. Start at the beginning. meaning the first day that I created the pages, especially the audio tape, no, especially the justice page and the abuse and neglect page. Just start from the day that I first created it, and you'll see all the evidence that I have. So, without further ado, this is a 6-minute recording, and so let me go ahead and play this, and you should be able to hear it really, really well. And here we go.
What is going on with your son? Well, they did a fire drill, which we have to do fire drills, and he got upset. They thought everything was okay, but he was obviously upset. He ran across the street.
He ran across the street.
And he hit a window at a house, broke a window. There's a little cut, but he's back in the building. He's calming, but he's not quite calm yet. I just,
And he ran across Mount Street?
So,
well, that's when you need mom. I don't understand, that the thinking of God ain't happy. That's all I got to say and stuff. But, what y'all need to be telling him right now, as the mother and as the nurse, is that his mom is here, and he can come and see and talk to me. He has Long John Silver's waiting for him, and that probably helped him. But when he doesn't feel, because you people are not his mother, you're never going to be his mother. You can't give him the comfort that I give him. And for him, the fire alarm was a trigger and stuff, but, for him to have to be able to run across the street, he could have gotten hit or anything. God is protecting him, but he's going to take care of things. Why don't you tell them to tell him that his mother's here with Long John Silver's, LJS, and give him some time to recover. He's autistic. So, everybody's trying to treat him like he's mentally retarded. So he's got a cut on his face. Did the nurses see it?
they're looking at him now. He was on his way to come to the visit. He knew you were here with Long John Silver's, and that's when he had the episode.
Yeah, he tricked, so it was a fire alarm that triggered him, and then...
Yeah, they did a fire drill, and it triggered it. And he had, like I said, he has been doing fabulously. He's doing really, really well.
You can see how this piece of trash lied, because first he was trying to say that Marquis was just leaving the building on his way to come and see me, and he didn't really care to come and see me, but then at first he admitted what really happened. Like I said, the guy that was boarding up the house or the window, it was his mother's house, but it was empty because she had just died, and he was the son. His name was Donnie Ross. And he told me, he said, the guy, not Rob Capaldi, but another employee of Columbus Developmental Center, said Marquis got out by himself and staff wasn't with him. But this piece of racist scum, Rob Capaldi, tried to put it on Marquis. And me too, because they always had tried to blame me and my son. And that, that he was actually coming over with, coming to see me, and he got triggered from that. No, he got triggered from hearing a fire drill, and there wasn't no staff in there to calm him down or to guide him or supervise him, and that's why he ended up across the street, running up to a house and knocking the windows out of it. Here's the rest of this recording.
We have no problem setting up another lunch tomorrow. I'll reimburse you for it. I feel horrible. I'm really sorry.
So what kind of cut does he have on his finger? So he hit a house across the street?
He punched through a window. He ran up on the porch of the house that's for sale, hit a window, and they were able to get things under control, get him back to the building. But, when I talked to Paul from Grounds, he said he was still screaming in the background. He was still pretty messed up.
He can yell and stuff. I mean, people better realize this stuff. God ain't happy, because Marquis doesn't deserve none of this stuff that's going on. But if he's being used by God and stuff, so, but he needs, and to push me out, a lot of constitutional violations, and first he's telling Ace Law stuff. he needs to be able to see me, you know, and to keep me away from him and stuff, because you're not his mother. He has a mother that's available, that's here right now, and I need to be able to see him and talk to him. And not allowing him to do that is just violating constitutional rights, so we'll deal with that in court and stuff, because it's just, you can't, you know, he needs all the support he can get, and I'm it. I'm the number one support he has, not nobody else. And for that not to be occurring, you know, people have to answer to it and stuff. So, you know, I have a right, and plus, I have a right to see my child as a constitutional right. So I'm asking you right now, can I see my son? Can I go to him? Can he get on the phone and talk to me? Because he has a mother, a very supportive, loving mother that he's very bonded to. There ain't none of this where he's, like I told that judge and stuff, you know, I said, this is sick. It's 6 years. I said, my son's been having a wonderful bonded relationship ever since he came out of my belly. And, you know, he needs to see his mom, you know. And the attorney just, you know, she shakes her head and stuff. But how about letting mom see him and pampering? I want to talk to him, knowing what he just went through, because it probably scared the life out of him and stuff like that. And I want to report on my son's injury from the nurse or the cut. But can he have the comfort and support of his mom? Okay, so you're not allowing him to have the comfort and support of his mom. And for me to be able to see my child in a situation like this. That's all yes or no? Okay, so he can't see confident support of his confident support of his mom. Oh, well, you know, yeah, no, this is his food. No, you don't have to pay and stuff. Give it to him, you know, and tell him that his mom bought coin, and you know, just put it in his room. Don't put it in the refrigerator. Don't let your staff eat it and stuff. And give it to him and stuff. You don't have to reimburse anything. I'll buy him some more tomorrow. Stuff. That's for him. But, you know, he needs his mom right now. He probably wants to see his mom. And you can't be doing that. That's constitutional. That's a constitutional violation for me and him. So have that nurse call me or leave a message on my cell phone. I want to know about his finger and or the cut or whatever. I have a right to know. Make sure he gets that small John Silver's, both of them.
Oh, well, I'll bring it up.
So there you have it, and you can see that lying, racist piece of scum, he was just really worried about me seeing what shape Marquis is in. That's the same way with Erin Sanford. She doesn't want me, because it's been almost 5 years since I actually seen my son. So, you know, and they've been neglecting him and abusing him and lying on him and mistreating him, you know, ever since he's been around them. So there's no telling. But the Lord said, Mara, I don't want you worrying about that. He said, because I'm going to have to restore him. I'll restore him. And he said, and I'm with him. He said, that they can keep you away right now. And they have been. He said, but they can't limit my power. My power goes everywhere. And he said, I'm with him. And that's the only hope that me and Marquis has, is that Jesus will, you know, got the date and time where he'll say, go over there and get your son. And people don't think, I said, God will punish people. Sometimes he did it because he took that Jewish lawyer right off the planet because he was so evil. It offended God so much, you know, that God just took him off the planet. So, Marquis, I love you. I think about you every single day. I'm missing you this Jesus must. But all your stuff is there waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. And I don't want you to, because they trying to break up our family, make you think you don't have a mother, making you think that Jesus don't love you. You know, God is not loving you and stuff, and nothing could be further from the truth. I'm here waiting for you, waiting on the day that God has already appointed for you to come back home. And And God loves you. He ain't going to leave your side, that you're going to live the life that he has destined for you and that has destined for me. You're going to be back home with your mother. I'm not going to give up on you. I'm not giving up on God. And I love you so much. I miss you so much. And Merry Jesus must to you. I'm just looking forward to 2020 where I can put my arms around you and welcome you back home. I love you, always in my mind and heart every day. And that's it. Thank you for listening.